Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. And we're back after a very short break. And the topic of discussion today will be counterterrorism and Islam. We'll be remembering the 1998 bomb blast that happened in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, where a lot of people, 220 people died following the terror attack. And with me in studio is Councillor Ruqiyya. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much for joining us in studio. And just while we're remembering the terror attack, and I know this, it's been 25 years. 25 years might look like it was just yesterday, but those are a lot of years ago. And Sheikh, just to start off with you, I want us to know, where were you during this terror attack?
I remember very vividly. I was here, Jamia.
Yes.
Actually, I was recording a program with CNN down here, and then it happened. So I was just here. My office was just across the road here, Kimathi Street. I came in here to do a program, and I was going back to the office when it happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Councillor Ruqiyya, I know that we were having this discussion earlier. As one person who was actually affected by the terror attack, I want you to take us on a little memory lane on the day itself.
On that particular day, I was at Cooperative Bank House. The 12th floor, I used to work with the Teacher Service Commission. So at that time, there were teachers' strikes.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of running battles between the police and the teachers because of the strikes. So at first we had a loud bang. We thought it's maybe just the police fighting with the teachers. But again, we had another one and it was loud. We went to the windows and we started looking at what's happening. And I think that was our undoing, because now that came the other blast that was more stronger. And most of us got cuts on the face, like I got cut this particular part. I have scars in my hands. The building shook. We thought the building is going to fall. And one of our colleagues told us to get under the desk. So while we were there, you could just see the building shock. And to me, it was like the end of the world. I knew that now I'm dead. I didn't believe it when I realized I'm not dead. So some people we were with there lost their lives, some lost their eyes, some were left with even worse scars, but I think what's worse is that the mental trauma and scars are still living with us even now, and physical ailments also. Yeah.
And just as you've mentioned, the mental, it obviously takes a toll on you, such a very big moment in your life. You obviously will not forget that. I think that's why we're here. We're remembering the victims most importantly. And let's talk about mental health as well. Being Muslim, I know it brought a lot of questions from your side. I know that, as Sheikh Lethome were discussing earlier, when you hear a lot of terror attacks and you find out the people who are instigating such terror attacks, they come out and claim that they're Muslims, and they say that it's what Islam is all about. And I know, being a Muslim, you had questions. You'd ask yourself probably, how can my fellow Muslims do this when we follow the same religion?
I had many questions. I think 1,000,001 if it's possible. And I used to question myself. I'm like, okay, what's happening? I wasn't sure, is this right? Because when you listen, when you don't have the knowledge and you listen to someone explaining, you will see it as if they're giving you ayahs and hadiths that are justifying that. And for a long time, I really questioned myself. I even had to pray and ask Allah, please show me the right aqidah, and I mean the right thing. And at some point, that time, I don't know, after I prayed, there was a lecture in one Juma at Jamia. And sort of I felt I got my answer, because the Sheikh talked of the fact that this is not Islamic and all that, and I felt at ease. I was somewhere in between, hanging.
And that's for Sheikh Lethome now to answer. As she's mentioned, these people come out and they use ayahs of the Quran to justify very evil and vile acts. What do you have to say about this? I know that you are, if there's a sheikh who's used the member to talk deeply on this matters, it is you, and that's why we have you here today. Sheikh, what would you tell us about this?
First of all, I think our condolences to the people who lost their lives and those who suffered injuries. But most unfortunate is the fact that such attacks are associated with Islam and Muslims. And we cannot blame the others for blaming Islam and Muslims for this. Because when you hear somebody shouting Takbir, Allahu Akbar, as they kill others, then somebody comes and claims we are doing this in the name of Islam. And they even try to justify and say this is jihad. So the other people, even fellow Muslims, have a right now to blame Islam for it. Very unfortunate. And we call this misuse of religion. Of course, any religion can be misused, but unfortunately, when you look at the trends of the active terror organizations today, increasingly they're using Islam, which is very unfortunate. But then, is it just enough to sit down and say these people are misusing Islam and try to disassociate Islam with this? No, it's not enough. We need to do something proactive. And I'm glad as I sit here, myself and a few other scholars, after the Garissa attack, we decided enough is enough. We can't just be sitting down, wait for something to happen, and then we try now to condemn those people who did it, try to justify, show that Islam does not do this. But then we decided we need to be proactive. First of all, look at the underlying root causes. Nadia, I am 60 plus now, but I still want to live. Why would a young person, 23 years old, full of life, full of potential, want to kill themselves and kill other people? Why do they want to die? And you know, for that, those kind of people, research has shown that they want to die, so you go and face them with a gun, you're not doing anything. You need to get into their mindset. What is it that has gotten into them that they want to die? And I wish they were just dying on their own, but kill other people and destroy property. And that's why we formed an organization called Brave. And Nadia, I hope Horizon can be able to invite the officials of Brave here, because we have a whole set of programs that we have rolled out, mostly targeting, first of all, the imams, the religious scholars. Because you see, when we allowed the violent extremist groups to be the voice that is being heard there, that they are the people who are interpreting jihad for the world, so the world understands jihad through their voice, we got it wrong. And we felt the first step would be, just like our sister said here, it took an imam to stand here in the mosque and explain that this is not Islam, for her to feel at ease and feel comfortable that it's not Islam, it is those people. So our first step was, number one, target the Muslim religious leaders who are the credible voices to carry the message of Islam, build their capacity, and also tell them you have a role to explain what Islam is and what Islam is not. And also show why are these people, what teachings of Islam are these people using to justify terrorism. So step number one was to mobilize the imams. We don't need to teach them, they have the content, but help them package their message in such a way they deconstruct the messages of the terror organizations. And also demystify concepts like jihad, like khilafah. And we cannot run away from them because these are concepts within Islam. Jihad is within Islam, khilafah is within Islam, and all those things are within Islam. But how are they being twisted to justify the destruction of lives and property? So this is what we have been doing. And we also identify the religious teachings that they use. Because believe me, we use the Quran to correct the misconception. They use the same Quran to justify killing other people. So you need, first of all, to identify the religious narrative, and this is our area of expertise, and I'm glad even the government of Kenya today has recognized our expertise in that area, and we are working closely together. Identify the verses of the Quran that are being misused by these people, the religious concepts and terminology that are being used by those people. Step number two, develop effective and appropriate counter-religious messaging. We call them narratives. And not only that, we also give the alternative narratives. Take, for example, somebody misquoting a verse of the Quran to justify killing other people. we come up with a verse to show them that Islam actually, more than any other system in this world, condemns the killing of human beings to the extent that you are told, if you kill one soul, it's like you have killed the whole of humanity. Yes. Not only that, Nadia, in Islam, even taking away the life of an animal without justification is wrong. How would the same religion turn around and justify the killing of innocent people? So this is what we are involved in, alhamdulillah.
Yeah. And Sheikh, as you've mentioned, you've and a couple of other religious scholars have formed Brave and are working closely with other masjids and probably assisting people who've been through terror attacks and also demystifying probably what people think about Islam. Just a question for you, Councillor Ruqya. After the terror attack, I know that at that time Brave was not formed. Are there any other institutions or projects or programs that you were involved in or called you to assist you after the aftermath?
After that, it wasn't very open kind of assistance immediately after the bomb blast. It was more of debriefings, but I didn't really partake into it. Mostly I used to go to hospital individually, take sessions here and there, but I don't think really I dealt with it. But there were some organizations that helped people in like just going through counseling, and at some point I think some of them could not go for those sessions further because of maybe financial issues and all that. But for me, I see it as if I never really dealt with it fully, as much as I'm functioning well. What made me realize that is that it really took me time before I could even pass through that place. Years actually, to pass through the cooperative house. And it used to be very bad for me. Whenever there was a terror attack and I'm at work, I would go home. And if I'm at home, I won't go to work because I felt what you're saying, you're feeling sad, you're feeling you're going to be blamed as a Muslim, and you also went through it. That to me was something that is very tough. And even up to today, whenever there's a terror attack, I'm not myself. Yeah, so I think more could have been done, and I'm glad that now Brave is here and they're trying to demystify this. But at that time, some people got help, but there are many others who didn't.
Very, very sad. But there's something that you've said, and I want to pose this question to Sheikh Lethome. She's mentioned, unfortunately, when such terror attacks happen, Muslims get blamed. And with the, I know right back in 1998, there were no such things as the social media, there was no Twitter where you could just go. But openly these days, we see people, Muslims get terrorized even on the media and painted into a narrative of Islam is all about terrorism, Islam is all about violence. And what Councillor Ruqya has said, she feels very sad when a terror attack happens, Muslims are getting blamed, and in her opinion, when she remembers what happened to her, she says, but I'm a Muslim, I went through the same thing.
Oh, no, it's very sad because in that particular incident, many people don't know that we buried 16 Muslims, and we were the first to bury. But what happened, as I told you, I was here in the mosque, recording a program with CNN, and I had left my kanzu in the office, so I wanted to go back and get into the kanzu. But it happened before I could change, and that saved me. How did it save me? Because we rushed there. I knew of the wife of a friend of mine who was working there. So we were rushing. We didn't know what is happening. There is no news, but the whole place, dust and the rest. And on the way, I could see Muslims being harassed. You people are the ones who have killed us. And some of the Muslims were bleeding. You know, so even before the dust settled, judgment was already passed. It is you people killing us. Yet we buried 16 people. My friend's wife was 6 months pregnant in that place. But you can't blame the people out there. Why is it that people point as Muslims as the perpetrators? We need to look inside ourselves and look at some of the people who have decided to misuse Islam to justify such activities. Because when somebody shouts Takbir Allahu Akbar, that is an Islamic call. It cannot be anybody else. And then an organization that has a Muslim name claims responsibility. So what do you expect from the world? You Muslims are doing it. Then what is our duty? Because we have no control of them. These are groups of people who have decided that they want to terrorize the world for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But it's not Islamic reason. It's their own reasons. It could be political and the rest, but they're just misusing Islam. Now, what is our duty? Sit down, cry? No. We need to be proactive. And that's why we formed BRAVE, and that's why we continue working. And you look at the acronym, BRAVE, Building Resilience Against Violent Extremism. It requires somebody who is brave.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example. Anytime there was a bomb blast, we would be invited because the world wants to know, you Muslim sheikhs, what do you have to say about this? And many religious scholars would say, if it is the TV, I don't want to appear there. But if it is radio, maybe I would come. Why? You don't know who is watching you, and maybe some of those people behind these activities are watching you.
Yes.
Because it has happened, Muslim scholars have lost their lives. Sheikh Idris, the chairman of CIPK, lost his life because he was speaking against it. So it required bravery. In Garissa, we went and encouraged the scholars there, please go out into the masajid and talk about the true jihad. What is the true jihad? And does Islam justify fighting people just because you differ with them in religion and the rest? Yet the Quran says very clearly, Lakum dinukum waliyadin.
Yes.
You have your faith and I have my faith. One religious scholar stood up and he gave a sermon on Friday and said, this is not jihad. This is, we cannot justify this in Islam. It is haram. The moment he finished his khutbah and switched his phone on, he received a call. We are coming for you. We've heard you. And at 2 a.m., they came for him. Fortunately, he was saved by the neighbors because actually the security officers came too late, but he was saved. Now, after that, do you think any other imam would want to talk about this? No. So one of the activities of BRAVE is to try and encourage the scholars. We have a duty. This is munkar.
Yes.
What happened to our sister here with the scars? She will meet her Lord with scars, which she was not born with. Who is answerable for that? The people who lost their lives. This is munkar. And we have a duty to fight munkar, whatever means. We as BRAVE, we don't have the weapons, we don't have the organs of governance, but we have the voice.
Yes.
We have the teachings of Islam. This is what we are doing. And I'm glad today Horizon is doing this. We need to use every opportunity available to educate the people and delink terrorism from Islam, because this is not Islam. Islam came to preserve deen, to preserve lives, and preserve property. These people are destroying all that. It cannot be Islam. The Prophet ﷺ did not do that.
Yes.
Even when he fought people, it was not because of their religion. It was persecution. He was fighting persecution. And when the persecution was over, he would live with them. And even during the wars, if you look at Surah At-Tawbah, if one of them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأْجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. Even during the war, if a mushrik, an idol worshipper, sought refuge with you as a Muslim, give them refuge.
Yes.
And when they want to go, give them safe passage. That is Islam. Now, these are teachings in the Quran and the Sunnah. What are we supposed to do? Bring them out to the world. Let the world see this is Islam and this is terrorism, and the two are different.
Yes.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. Sheikh, as you've mentioned, Horizon TV is an Islamic media station, and we obviously would bring out matters and issues that are affecting the Muslim community at large. I love how you've mentioned Islam is all about preserving, not destroying, and what these terrorists are doing is quite the opposite. And talking about BRAVE, this conversation is a very, very long conversation. This actually needs more time. And just before we continue, just posing a question to Councillor Ruqayya. Other than the help that you needed, what do you feel like right now should be given to probably terror victims? How could we assist them as the media, as religious institutions?
I think at the moment there's that understanding that their life changed after the terror attack. So it's good that employers who have such people in their workplaces understand that at times they'll go through ups and downs. And again, the terror victims have been fighting for compensation for the 25 years, which has not been done. They were there and they were attacked because of the US Embassy that was there. It's a war that they don't know anything about. The way someone who is insured would be compensated, they're still asking for that compensation because some lost lives, some of the children lost their parents and they didn't continue with their education. There's a lot that's happening there. So if the advocacy can be done to also help these survivors be compensated, that would also be very helpful by the media houses.
Yes. I know that I've referred to you as Councillor Rukia, and probably people are out there wondering, oh, she's a councillor. I want to know how the 1998 bomb blast affected you into probably helping others as well.
Actually, that one affected me into helping others, what they say, a wounded helper, you know, because I engage a lot in community activities because I believe because of what someone is going through, they can easily be pushed into terror activities, while at the same time helping them heal from the different things that they're going through. The youth and even women and all that. So I really try to really push for such agendas.
Shak, I know that she said something there and you were like, you very well, please give us your...
Yeah, you know, she said, because of a situation that a person finds themselves, that can push them to joining violent extremism. So true. And what do we do ourselves? Just like if a doctor wants to effectively eradicate a disease or treat somebody effectively, you must find out the underlying root causes. So what do we do in Brave? We don't just blame a person who has joined. We go deep and ask ourselves, what are the underlying root causes? And you'll be surprised. And that's why I want to agree. I could not agree with her more. You need to find out why is it that some of our youth are joining violent extremist groups. And what she said is very right. Some of them is because of the situation they find themselves in.
It's true.
What are some of those situations? Frustration. A frustrated person would go for anything. A person who has no hope in life. So we need to find out what is it that has made this child frustrated. And we have found out children from broken families become very vulnerable. Young people who are frustrated, some of them have gone into drugs and the rest. They are very vulnerable. Even because of the kind of relationship between the public and security organs, like the police. Do you think there is any love lost between our youth and the police? No, there is no love lost between them. So bad governance also, corruption and all those things. So a situation that a person finds themselves in, it's important for us to understand that situation. So even as we are addressing radicalization into violent extremism, we need also to address the causes. So she's very right. Even for her, that bitterness that she had. If somebody had come and told her, Councillor Rukia, you know what? We can revenge for you. Join us and we can revenge. I'm sure because of the pain, you'd say yes. So for some people, it is revenge. A child who lost their parents there, if somebody does not counsel them, they have that bitterness, okay? And we have met such kind of young people whose maybe parents died in the hands of the police. They are bitter. They feel that. Some people also who have been denied property rights, for example. Why is it there are so many youth in Kwale area, South Coast, who have joined Al-Shabaab? It is because of the land issue, historical injustices. Why is it so easy to radicalize a young person from Wajir, Mandera, Garissa? I just need to go there with the story of marginalization. You people are marginalized. And it is real, Rukia.
It is true.
Even marginalized, okay? It's very easy. Lamu, if I want to radicalize the young people of Lamu, I just need to look at the situation they are in, and I'll be able to use that to radicalize them. And the icing on the cake is use Islam. And tell them, Islam tells you to stand up and fight for your rights, and I'll come up with a verse, you know, then I'll tell them, if you die, you're going to Jannah. And that becomes very attractive. So we need to understand the situations or this kind of the environment within which our young people are, which can easily radicalize them. And that's why for us, in our programs, we identify a list of strategic partners. You cannot succeed in this alone.
Yes,
for example, you go and talk to this young man and find out this is a boy who left or a girl who left university 5 years ago, jobless and the rest. Then you are able to de-radicalize them, so they leave that ideology. But they're still poor, they have no jobs. I don't have jobs as Brave. So I need a partner here. And that's why we partner with the government. We partner also with NGOs and other CSOs. We partner with business community and the rest. Can you give jobs to these people? We need to address the underlying root causes, okay?
Yes.
For us to be able to come up with sustainable solutions to this problem.
Very, very good explanation, Sheikh Lethome. And I'm just being reminded because of time we're not able to finish the conversation. So I'll bring a question to each and every, both of you rather, and to everyone who's listening. What's your final take on this? What would you like to tell people as we wind up?
What I would like to tell people is that it's very important to deal with issues that people are facing. You see, mental health is something that is invisible. And if we don't deal with issues that are affecting our youth, our women and everyone, it's very possible to ignite something that we don't see, and then we later blame a situation that we were not aware of, that it's there, or we ignored, or we didn't take it seriously. Because it's the same issues that at times lead people to radicalizations of different ways, different means. Not only terror attacks through bomb, but there are other ways that our youth can be radicalized because we didn't take heed of the things that would otherwise have affected them.
Very, very well put. Sheikh Lethome, what would you like to tell everyone who's listening?
What I would like to, let me talk to the religious scholars.
Yes.
You see, Nadia, sometimes people mistake the role of religious leaders, or maybe we make people also get it wrong, that is just about preparing people to go to Jannah, which is very good. May Allah take us to Jannah, all of us. But you have to live in this world, Rukia.
Yes.
So can we also, as we are preparing the youth to go to Jannah, can we also prepare them on how to face the challenges in this world? And you know, if you go back and look at some of those any ill-intended religious leaders misled our youth, is because they became popular with the youth. Why? They were talking about issues affecting the youth. They became popular, the youth listened to them. Our scholars need to also address the issues facing the youth today. Unemployment, Western culture, social media and the rest, and help the youth in navigating through the waters, the rough waters. So even as we prepare them, we remember, even the Prophet ﷺ used to pray, Rabbana atina fi dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana. So can we focus on the issues affecting the youth, because your destination in heaven depends on what you do in this world.
Very, very true. Very, very true. Well put, Sheikh Lethome. Thank you so much for joining me. I think the conversation has not stopped. This is something that we would love to continue and also include the both of you and the Brave organization, inshallah. It's been a very wonderful conversation because, Sheikh, before we started, I posed and I told you, Sheikh, we hear religious scholars condemning such attacks. What about after condemning it? What do you guys do? And you said you don't know what happens behind the scenes. So today we'll be able to learn. And alhamdulillah, I was able to learn a lot. Alhamdulillah, I've learned about the Brave organization, which I genuinely would really love to have a conversation with them as well. Thank you so much for staying here with us on Horizon TV. This was all about remembering the victims and the terror attack that took place in Nairobi and Dar es Salaam in 1998. 25 years on, the conversation still continues. How can we demystify terrorism and also show to, obviously, non-Muslims that Islam is not all about violent actions? And as Sheikh Lethome, you had put it, I'd love to finish off with that. Islam is all about preserving. It is not about destroying. What terrorists and terror organizations do is the complete opposite of what Islam is truly all about. the conversation does not stop. We want to hear from you. What do you think religious institutions and organizations can do to ensure that the youth and Muslims in general are not radicalized? And I think that's the conversation. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Horizon TV. Until next Friday, Ma'as salam.